DUVAL. I like saying that. That's kind of fire.
Craziest play was Devin Lloyd's 99-yard pick six. Like, I ain't never heard the stadium like that before. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Third and Long. Appreciate you tuning in. I'm Arik Armstead, and of course, my co-host. He didn't like the way I introduced him last week, so now I'm going to introduce him in a different way each week. The man with the smallest shoulder pads in NFL history, Michael Bennett. What's up, bro?
What's up, man? How you doing today? Again, next week. I don't know. I feel like, do we need to do intros, though? I feel like people know who we are. Like,
now I'm going to intro you every week because you didn't like how I did it, so now I'm gonna think of a new way to intro you each week.
Nah, man, it's going good. How's everything with you, the weekly check-in? Because I feel like lately there's been so many, like, random things happening to players, and I feel like sometimes we don't do enough checking in and seeing how people are really doing. You know, like every once in a while just texting one of your teammates or texting somebody that you used to play with and just being like, how are you? I know sometimes you don't want to ask that question because then somebody really tells you how they are, and then you're kind of like, oh, I know you. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, it was you're doing it, but you didn't realize that you actually going to have a conversation. But I think sometimes, like, in the NFL, I think it's really important because you never know what guys are kind of going through. So just checking in, how's the family? Any interesting things happening to you lately? Or I know you always got a lot of projects coming.
No, I'm good, bro. Blessed, to be honest. Couple new things. Shoot, I went to a parent-teacher conference, my first parent-teacher conference for my kids today at their school. And that was an interesting experience. Just meeting with the teachers. Really, you know, when you start doing stuff like that, you start actually feeling like an adult. Like, I know I'm an adult, but like that's like another level of adulthood, I feel like, parent-teacher conference meetings. And kids are doing good, really blessed. Another thing, recently that's cool, I started meeting with a new sports psychologist this week. And
Wow.
me and him been having some great conversations and just breaking down some things. So that's been new in my world.
But why sports psychologist? I think a lot of people want to know that. Like, do you really need a sports psychologist? Or, like, what kind of goes through your head to even make you – because I feel like, especially people – men are like, yeah, I'm good on that. Like, I'm good on going to the psych. You know, I just deal with this trauma myself. Like, but with sports, what makes you want to do a sports psychologist? Like, I mean, that kind of takes courage a little bit because it's about how do you become vulnerable with your own secrets or how you really feel about things. Like, what made you go towards that route?
Well, I've been playing a long time, and I've met with sports psychologists throughout my years. I started meeting with one in the 2021 season when I was still in the Bay Area and just talking through things. But, you know, I started meeting with a new one this year. And really for me, it's, you know, we're always chasing peak performance. And a lot of peak performance isn't just, you know, lifting weights and practice and, you know, technique and all that stuff. Sometimes it's a mental game, and you have to be sharp up here so I can go out there and perform. And so always trying to get better, always trying to improve. And I felt like that's something that I needed to start back doing was meeting with someone, just talking through some things, just trying to figure out how I can play better, help my team win more games, and, you know, I can accomplish my goals. So I feel like it's important, and, you know, any athlete out there that I feel like we can all benefit from it. You know, whether you're playing at a really high level, you know, whatever level that you're at, you know, high school, college, you know, looking back even like in high school, man, I remember like it was a thing for me, and I can admit this now, like football, I played basketball and football, and like football, I was good. Like I really wasn't nervous. You know, I could go out there and play. And then like in my basketball games, for whatever reason, like I used to get more nervous. I used to get like a lot more anxious. And then I realized like basketball is different. Like people can see my face. Like the fans are right there. You know, like what you what you do is like out in the open more. Like football, we wear shoulder pads and helmets, and fans are farther away, and all your mistakes aren't like out in the open for everyone to see. Like, me getting blocked or something isn't like missing a layup or missing a free throw or something like that. So that was something I realized at like an early age that this sports and athletics and performance like is a lot more mental than you think, and it's something that I kind of always was interested in. And at a time in my career where I had some ups and downs, I was like, I really want to start talking to someone about it. So it's been good for me, and like I said, I'm just trying to find that edge and continue to perform at a high level, and different things pop up throughout your career.
That's interesting because I feel like when I was playing, like I just always like, it's like even though I was having a success, every time I go into the field, I basically would be like, I didn't deserve to be there. Like everything that doubted, instead of like, I don't know, maybe that was like some kind of like psych thing in my head. Like they didn't pick me. They didn't want me here. They trying to take it from me. And like, I feel like that was kind of my edge. Just like having that, just that connection to that. It's like
underdog mentality. You feel like
it's like, man, I'm not supposed to be here. Like they want to get rid of me every year. It's like I kind of would use that as the fire. Even though we'd be going to Pro Bowls, we'll be in the Super Bowl, NFC Championships, I just never always felt like that somebody was trying to take it from me. And I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. And maybe it was good that I had daughters because that could be a bad mentality to take into the real world.
Yeah. I think, there's different times you have to use different things for motivation. But if you carry that, like, past using it for motivation in a game, and if you carry that like feeling like out in the real world, or carry that feeling like continuous past just getting yourself hyped up to compete, it could be a little bit of a detriment and take away from some of your memorable moments, and not really feeling like dang, like really looking back like, man, I went to multiple Pro Bowls, like and those type of things, and still feeling like you don't belong. So it's something that you can use to compete, but also it could, hinder you in some ways if you carry that mentality in every phase of life, I feel like.
Oh, I agree with you 100% because sometimes I think like that stuff becomes like a slippery slope, right? It's like you could be you try to live your life the way you play the football, very wild. It's like everything that you do on the football field, you're congratulated for. Like you knock a person out, everybody cheering for you. You clothesline, you do something very violent. Everybody's supporting that and being like, yeah, do more violent shit, and then like you go into the real world, somebody beep your horn and you punch them in the face, you go into jail. So it's like, it's a very violent kind of mentality. So you do have to find a way to make a clear delineation between which is real and what isn't real. Like, maybe sometimes football is a reality from the pain and the game, but then there's this like fictional part to it too, where you can't really do the things that you do on the football field into the normal society.
Yeah, no, that's facts. I think it's being able to compartmentalize, the different facets of your life, and when you need to be super aggressive, when you need to be, more calm, when you need to tap into different things for resiliency and going through adversity, but also resting and having a peace of mind and being able to enjoy things. So I think it's all a balancing act, and it's something that we all are on this journey. Us as human beings are all on this journey, and we all deal with different things mentally. So, but yeah, that's been going on in my world. I saw that you were back in Seattle. You guys' legendary team linked back up. You guys were honoring, the legends of the Seahawks. Tell me about that.
Oh, that was a good experience. I think it was the top 50 players in Seahawks history. So it was like
top 50.
Yeah, it was like the players. So it was kind of cool to be there because we had an opportunity to connect to all the old players, like like Joe Nash and some of those guys that played before Jacob Green. Obviously, Cortez Kennedy passed away, But there were some legendary players there. You know, you had Sean Alexander and Marshawn Lynch, you know, MVP and one of the best running backs to ever play the game. So
Facts.
it's like, it was like.
We got to get him on the show. We got to get him on the show for sure.
Well, we can easily, Marshawn money. Come on, man. We got, you know, don't make us pay either, Marshawn. I know how you do.
Yeah, man. He making so much bread.
Yeah, I told him he the football version of Snoop Doggy Dogg. Is like
He is though.
He is a football version of Snoop Dogg.
Whatever you put Marshawn on, it's going to turn into gold for sure. Everybody love that dude.
Yeah, so it was cool because it's like, you know, being there in that situation and taking and understanding like what you could mean to a city, not just as a player, but what you do out the field. I think for me as a player, I've always tried to understand that everybody says, oh, you don't want to be a role model, but I think you do want to be a role model. I think the thing about being a role model is that there's a morality line that you have to stay in, and everybody doesn't want to have to live up to that standard. But I think it's an important standard because it's like kids are looking up to us. You know, the city needs us to fulfill certain voids for things people don't get to see, like, you know, like what's happening in the city, who is it affecting, and we have an opportunity to use our foundations to shine light on that kind of stuff. And I think it was a cool weekend. I got the chance to see Earl Thomas. Hadn't seen him in a while. And it was kind of good. Cam Chancellor was always one of my favorite players. So it was like I got to play with him, but he was also just, you know, I just loved the way that Cam played the game and like how he hit Kenny Easley, all those great guys. So it was kind of dope just to be back into the essence of the players. And then we got dope-ass Lettermans. Those Lettermans were fire. I was like, yeah, I would wear this, even though it's a big Gotti because it has all your accolades and things you've kind of done.
Yeah, no, the Lettermans was fire. I saw yours had the Pro Bowl on there. I was like, what's going on? Those look dope.
Yeah, I was like, damn, every team should have these, you know, like they're just fire. So no, it was a great experience kind of being with the team and just kind of rejoicing because, you know, that Seahawks team, we were legendary in our generation. We had the opportunity to bring the first Lombardi to the city.
Yeah. Did Nike make those Lettermans or the team did?
I think Nike and the team collaborated, and it was like a young black female designer who kind of designed the jackets and stuff. So that was really dope.
No, those are fire. They definitely, that's definitely a keepsake. Y'all can whenever y'all link up, y'all can throw those on.
Yeah, just throw it on. Be like trying to get some free food. You be like, oh, I didn't know. Like, you know, like
go around town like
how much is that? See this patch right here?
Yeah.
You know.
No, that's what's up. Speaking of your time with Seattle, though, man, like a lot of people know you for a lot of different reasons, but one of the biggest things, like even to this day, you know, like people, I'm around like younger players that like, you know, they be calling me Unc and, you know, acting like I'm ancient or something, but like a lot of people remember you, you know, for being a great player, but like they remember you for your shoulder pads that you used to wear. Yeah. And like everyone was just so astonished, like how could he play in those shoulder pads, especially play defensive line the way that you did, super violent, super aggressive. So tell us a story about the shoulder pads. I know a little bit about it from talking to you, and I tried to, throughout my career, get my shoulder pads smaller. I didn't take the drastic measures that you took, but tell us about the shoulder pads.
They're looking good. I was talking to EK, the equipment guy, and he was like, now they're making like these super small pads that kind of adjust to your chest, and they're kind of more like shells or whatever. But I just always wanted to be able to reach, you know, so I would take the dramatic efforts to make sure that my shoulder pads was small as they could be. And I always felt that like, I was like, as a defensive lineman, if all my tackles are happening when the running back is getting the ball or like right at where contact kind of happens. And then like for playing defensive line, it's all about your hands. So if I get my hands on the lineman before, then most likely I'm going to win the play. So I'm not going to have to worry about shoulders. If I do it on double teams and I just get off the ball faster than the guard and create separation between the two levels, I would win that block anyway. So, so I was just like, always like to have small shoulder pads. It's like John Abraham and John Abraham and OC were two of my favorite players growing up in the NFL, you know, and Alan Page, those guys were the guys that I kind of love watching playing football. So I always wanted smaller shoulder pads, the smallest I can get is because I just want to be able to raise my jersey and my arm to have full extension is like I would make sure that my jersey was like it needs to show all this, you know.
Yeah.
So I was just like that was just my thing, you know. I always wanted to have the smallest shoulder pads so I can make the best contact, get to where I needed to go to. And it's kind of interesting because now I see so many guys like have that kind of smaller shoulder pads and they're getting smaller and stuff. I feel like that's kind of my legacy in the NFL a little bit.
Yeah, it is, bro. And like I said, you know, meeting you when I was younger, I started taking those steps as well too. It started off like comfort, but for me, being a bigger body, like having broad shoulders, I just felt like I had too much pad for offensive linemen to grab onto, and like I'm getting held, and like it's hard. It was hard for me to like get through small gaps. Like guys, it's just a big target to grab onto. So for me, like I remember when I was young, I started wearing X-Tech pads, and I'm talking to the owner Bob, like, man, can I take this top shell off? Like, can y'all make, you know, this as small as possible? So like, I have a lineman like breastplate part, but I have a skill. The shoulder part is like a skill size. So
Okay.
like the shoulder part is like a DB, and they measured it to make sure like it covered up my AC joint and all that. But man, I was just like, I'm trying to get them as small as possible so I don't get held.
I didn't have anything covering my AC joint. I was just out there just raw dogging it. Like I was just out there raw dogging it, just like I don't care what's happening. Like as long as we win, it's like what is it to have a bum shoulder or be a champion? I'm like, I'll take a champion. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of guys with good shoulders, but not a lot of guys who are champions. So
yeah, I mean you pay the cost. You pay
the
price. You gotta pay the cost to be the boss, I guess.
I don't know if it's going past this level right there, but hey.
Yeah. So that range of motion that you was trying to achieve got a little limited now.
It's limited now, you know, to deal with the devil, you know, that's how it works sometimes.
I got another funny equipment story about you. All right, so
who is it coming from too, first of all? You need a reliable source.
One of my best friends.
You can't be like Drake and Kendrick.
I'm gonna tell you, one of my best friends. One of my best friends, Tony Girardetti.
Okay,
yeah. Was your college teammate?
Yeah, he was. So,
and he said that when you guys were at A&M, your coaches decided that all D linemen had to wear knee braces. But he said this made you so mad, you're like, nah, bro, I'm not doing it. So Tony said everyone else fell in line, and this is typical Mike, you know, pushing the line. But everyone else fell in line and put the knee braces on for practice. But you were like, bro, I'm not wearing them. And so he said that you came out to practice with the knee braces like upside down and halfway falling off, and was running all clunky and tripping over yourself. And the coach was like, Mike, all right, man, just take it off, man. Like, so he was like, you did it on purpose so you wouldn't have to wear them. You like, coach, I can't put them on. I can't run. Like,
no, I did do that. I was just like, why are we wearing knee braces? Like, he was like, oh, you don't get injured. I'm like, yeah, that's part of the game of football. Like, you go out there every day thinking that you're going to be healthy and you might come back handicapped. You know, so it's like, yeah, I did do that. Tony's telling the truth. That did happen. I did that.
So you bucked the system. You figured out a way to get out of them?
No, I always bucked the system. This is a part of my personality, you know.
I ain't going to lie. I wouldn't have did it either, bro. Like you're going to practice in them and then you're going to play without them. Like, I didn't really – I know in college they got a little more control, and some colleges like to do it, but I didn't really understand it either. It's like, and knee braces, bro, those are hard to move in. You don't even feel like yourself at all.
No, you don't feel like none of yourself. You definitely do. And they like, oh, I'm like, you can't really do nothing. You try, it's just not for athletic defensive linemen. And I think a lot of times those Coach Sherman, they came from like the 70s and 90s, and like they just play old school football, and they just like that kind of stuff, like protecting the players for practice. Yeah. But I'm like, what about concussions? You know, like we're doing Aggie drill out here. Like, let's get rid of that. You know what I'm saying? Let's get rid of like Oklahoma drill, like where two linemen line up next to each other and hit each other in the head. How about we do that? Get rid of that one and think about knee pads later.
They should have definitely started with that.
Look, Eric, I got to give you credit. I had so much doubt about the Jaguars coming into the season. Brand new coach. Trevor Lawrence has kind of been up and down. Stout defense. I've been saying this, the defense has been really good. Offensively, kind of going up and down. Brian Thomas is kind of exploding. He had a great season last year. E10. And I was just like, I don't know. You know, the Texans have kind of run that conference for a while. You know, the Indianapolis Colts are kind of getting better. The Tennessee Titans, you know, they've been up and down, not really been a player since Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry were together. And I was just like, I don't know, man. And then I look at you guys' schedule. I was like, this is a tough schedule. Like, you know, they have the 49ers and the Chiefs back-to-back. You know, going into the season, you have the 49ers being one of the top teams to be in the NFC Championship again. And then Kansas City has done it over and over. And back-to-back weeks, the game has come to the last play. And I think when it comes to the defining a great championship team and a great organization, it's not about the blowouts, right? Because the blowouts are the easiest games. It's like we blew a team out by like 20, so we weren't really challenged. But it's like when you go head-to-head and toe-to-toe with the great teams and it comes to who either has the ball for the last play or will the defense be able to make a stop. And I think that's kind of where you kind of judge if a team is great or not. And I was like, yeah, you guys are them guys right now. You guys are them guys right now. I'll give you credit. DUVAL! You know, I like saying that. That's kind of fire. So, but, yeah, I think this is one of those games where the Chiefs you guys haven't beat the Chiefs since, I want to say a crazy number. Like, it's kind of sad, too. 2009. So you had a black president when the last time y'all won.
Facts.
A black president. That's the last. That'll never, ever happen again, probably. After this administration, like a black president was the last time you guys beat the Chiefs. There's all kinds of things happening that year. Shirts were bigger. The music was different. People had 26-inch rims.
I was a freshman in high school, 2009, maybe a sophomore.
That's what I'm saying. That's how long ago it was. Climate, we didn't have the climate issues. We didn't think the world was ending because of climate. You know, like.
We didn't even have iPhones, bro.
I think the key play of the game to me was there's a lot of key plays in the game, right? The interception by Lloyd, which he's playing outstanding. You know, him coming
defensive player of the year right now.
Yeah, and week 5 though, so let's slow down.
That's what I'm saying. Right now, early defensive player of the year.
Yeah, it's been a while since linebackers, you know, kind of getting that honor too. So. I feel like Trevor Lawrence, to me, has taken that step. I still don't think he is top 8 just yet. He's just out of that. He's just going to cusp those guys. But I think currently, like, I feel like if Trevor Lawrence keeps playing the way that he's playing throughout the year, I think even that one play where he tripped and he got back up, he was like, black people, they coming. And he got up and he was like, oh, nobody. But I think the difference between Trevor Lawrence and to me is that I feel like before it felt like there was some chains on him and there was some type of like, you know, pressure on him to throw the ball. But I think this year it feels like he's just playing what the defense gives him. If the throw's there, he's doing it. If the run's open, he's taking off. And he has the ability and speed. It's like there's a lot. He is one of the most athletic quarterbacks in the NFL. Like, we don't see it a lot, but we're starting to see it even more and more, breaking tackles, shifting, getting the first down when it's needed. And I think watching this game kind of proved that you guys have all the weapons that you need to dominate the conference and also compete for a championship.
Yeah, man.
Sorry, that was a long-winded answer or intro to the game, but I really enjoyed the game. It was worth the money. Like I said, I always feel like Jacksonville is in witness protection. We never see you guys play. We see the Chiefs play a lot. We see the Cowboys play a lot. The Eagles play a lot. But I think you guys are making a name for yourself, dominating the Chiefs in that moment. Like, Patrick Mahomes played outstanding too. I'm not going to he made a couple bad plays, but he made a lot of great plays. There was plays where you guys had him locked in. He broke out, threw a touchdown. He played very well yesterday. So.
Yeah. For us, really, like, this is a take what you want league, and really proud to be a part of this team because you look at this game specifically. You look at the storyline. The great Kansas City Chiefs been dominating this league for many years now. Primetime football opportunity Monday night, and we go down 14-0, and we could have folded. But there's something different about our team and our vibe, and we truly believe in ourselves. And it's never always going to be perfect. It's never going to be pretty. This is a game of football. It's hard to win in this league. But when you keep swinging, when you stick together, when, it's going to be somebody's game. When you have great players, it's not going to be, the blowouts are when it's everyone's game and everyone is having big plays, everyone's eating. But when you can rely on your brothers out there to have your back, make big plays, we were struggling as a defense, to be honest. This wasn't our this is probably our worst performance as a defense this season. But for the offense to step up and go down, drive the football, big catches, BT, Trevor showing his resiliency to find a way to win. And I think what you're talking about and what you see out of those great quarterbacks and what I feel like is changing the narrative for Trevor and for our team, quite honestly, is those defining moments in games, figuring out a way to get a first down regardless of how it looks. And that's what I've been thinking we've been seeing out of Trevor. You talk about quarterbacks who are top in the league. They can find ways to win games regardless, whether with their legs, their arm, falling down, getting back up, showing resiliency, and just making plays down the stretch. And that's what Trevor did. He led that offense down the field when, to be honest, like, we didn't have our best performance as a defense. We didn't get it done. They went down the field and scored on us, and we were kind of in the hands of our offense to save the day, and that's what they did. And that was great to see, to be honest. Like, at times, like, obviously you want your defense to be dominant. We wanted to get off the field. We didn't want to put in the offense hands, but to have that moment where we didn't get it done and our offense save us, I think that feeds into the team confidence overall. I think that you need the defense, offense, and special teams to be playing confidently and to come together, because there are going to be times where, we're going to have to rely on each other. And that's the name of the game. That's what football is. It's the ultimate team sport. And so I'm proud of those guys. I'm proud to be a part of this team and proud to see that resiliency show up in a primetime game. Huge opportunity. And, I'm excited to keep it going.
I would say that Trevor Lawrence has really improved over his last couple of years, right? You go back to the playoff game a couple of years ago against the Chiefs, and then also the Chargers game. He played bad in the first half, but then was able to overcome and win the game. And then the Chiefs game was just okay. It wasn't his best game. But I think this game was one of those games where it was against the Chiefs again, an opportunity to prove that he could compete with Patrick Mahomes to be in that conversation. Not just yet, but eventually so. I think if you look at that first 2-minute drive where it was like, it was just bad plays, just, he didn't get to make the throws they needed to make. And usually in those situations, it can go left or right. Maybe before Trevor probably would have had less confidence in being able to get down on himself or feel the rush coming. There was an opportunity where I don't know what the offensive coordinator was thinking, but he put a tight end on Chris Jones. So that was a bad one-on-one with Chris Jones against a tight end. That really wasn't Trevor Lawrence's fault right there. He couldn't get his feet set, but he still got an opportunity to go outside, but couldn't make the throw that he wanted to make. But I think for me it was the throw where he was able to escape the rush, step up in the pocket, and throw a great ball to Brian Thomas on the corner and threw it right over number 35's head, right into the breadbasket and caught it. I think that was kind of like, okay, this is the guy that everybody wants to see. This is the guy that we're paying $55 million a year. Yes, I said it, $55 million a year, So, and then be able to make that throw and then come back and just win the game and put the team on his back and make the most critical plays. I think you see that's the growth to him over the year and what people want to see. Sometimes it takes quarterbacks a long time to develop. You look at Geno Smith, it took him a while, although Geno Smith was playing horrendous at the moment. But it took him a while where he was kind of a backup, set behind Russell Wilson, and eventually became the Offensive Player of the Year. And then, Sam Darnold, even Mac Jones, like there's guys who had, at the time, it took them a little while to develop, but they're starting to play better. So Trevor Lawrence is definitely one of those guys. I think what was going through your head, Eric, when Mahomes had 16 seconds left? Like, did you think well, Mahomes is a quarterback that can make this happen in 16 seconds, or you were like, we got this in the bag? Or did you feel like, no, we got to play sound football because at any moment Patrick Mahomes can make a great play?
Definitely. I feel, I've had this is my first time beating the Chiefs. So for me, like with them, the game is never over. I've seen them, barely any time
left. They beat you on the Super Bowl.
Huh?
They beat you on the Super Bowl, right?
2 Super Bowls, bro.
Oh, yeah.
And so the game is never over with them, and we had the lead in both those games. And even in a late game situation, like all you want to do is close out the game, stay locked in. It's never really a moment with them, especially that team, to kind of take a deep breath. He could easily get 40 yards in a play. So it wasn't over until it's over, and we had to continue to lock in, through the end of the whistle.
And then when you think about the energy in the stadium, it's like there was an energy in that stadium. I remember when Travis Hunter caught that pass, like the stadium was electric. I mean, first of all, he jumped over 2 guys and mossed the guy, but you saw the energy of the stadium become a part of the game. Did you feel that as a defender on the last drive? Did you feel like the stadium was roaring and Patrick Mahomes had to make better choices because you couldn't hear? I felt like the fans in the stadium the energy was there, but I want to see how you thought about the game.
I never, in my time here, seen it like that, bro. It was crazy. Like it was rocking in there. We asked our fans all week to come support, show up. That this was a different vibe, a different brand of football that we've been playing, and this is what we wanted to showcase to you, and that's exactly what we did. And the stadium was rocking. Probably the craziest play was Devin Lloyd's 99-yard pick 6. Like, I ain't never heard the stadium like that before. But also too, after the game, everyone in Jacksonville knows it's a lot of bridges. So there's 2 bridges you can leave going over the stadium. So I'm driving over the bridge. I'm going home. And
what you was driving?
Little something, little double R, just a little something. But that's neither here nor there. But I'm driving home, and the tailgate areas, like for the stadium, around the stadium, like it was packed, bro. Like I've never seen that before. Like
it's crazy what winning will do, though. It's crazy how winning is so contagious.
And like even like to the point where I feel like the city's not even really like set up for this type of this type of pandemonium. Like the traffic was crazy. Everyone was like, Uber was taking mad long. Like traffic was crazy getting to the game. Traffic was crazy after the game. Like in the tailgate areas, it was flooded. And I leave probably an hour and a half after the game. You know, get showered up, cool down, go see the fam, all that. Like hour and a half after the game, it was still so many people out there, bro. So we asked them to show up, and they did just that. And that was that was good to see.
That's how you know you playing hard though, because it's like when you play hard though, it'd be hard to just get dressed at the locker room. You be sitting down for like 30 minutes. You be like, boy, I'm not feeling. Boy, the leg hurt, the shoulder, the neck. You just sitting there. You like, yeah, I'm good. I'm gonna be here for 30 minutes. You know, like baby, if you want to go home, you can, but I gotta sit down. I gotta hit this ice tub. I gotta start my recovery right now.
Yeah, nah, for sure. I do some recovery post game too, just start that recovery process. But yeah, man, the fans showed up crazy in a big way, and the cool thing that about this game, I feel like, was being down 14-0, and like that moment where people were like, here we go. Like we came back, and I think locally, like we changed a lot of people into believers, which we need. I think within our team, we knew what we had. We knew what we were capable of. Like we knew we could play with anyone. But showing that on the national stage that we could play with anyone, and you know, I think it's going to be rocking for the rest of the season.
This week's OG Report Card, which is about me grading Arik's performance. In the first couple of weeks, he played pretty good. And this week, I think my coach used to call this a Jag. Just another guy on the field this week, I feel like. This wasn't your best performance. Like, this to me, this wasn't. Last week against the 49ers, I thought it was one of your best performances. But this week, you did your job. You did exactly what you're supposed to do, but you didn't have those kind of splash plays that you usually have, and those kind of like, you know, those kind of plays that usually change the game or at least put the team in a good position. I think you did your job. I wouldn't say that I don't know, maybe you want to debate this. Maybe you felt better than that, but I feel like this week wasn't your best performance. You know, I feel like I'll keep it even kill. I think you had like a C+ performance. Like it wasn't.
I don't feel like it was my best performance, and I think when you look at the defense as a whole, like I don't think it was our best performance as a whole, and I feel like I'm a big vital part to our defense. So if I'm not having my best performance and I'm just playing all right, then it's typically going to like show around the rest of the defense as well too. So yeah, I felt the same way. I felt that I did my job at times, but you know, I'm used to a very high standard, being a playmaker, being more productive, and making some plays to help my team win. But also the flip of that, sometimes
I don't want to hit no flip. I don't want to hit none of that democracy and all that kind of stuff. Like, no, you just didn't play good this week, and that's okay. You guys got the W. Like sometimes you play great, you get 4 sacks, and
I know
you guys lose.
That's what I'm saying. Like the flip side of it is like we won. Like there's a lot to be happy about. Obviously, you want to play well and win, but the flip side of that is that's not the case all the time, and that's just how it be. Like sometimes you could play really good and you lose, and it's like, dang, well, you know, what was that really worth? So, yeah, man, I think. So
you agree with the C+?
C+, yeah, I agree with that. It wasn't to my standard or my liking.
I'm take one of the lines off of the plus and just say C-.
You can say C-, bro. I ain't tripping.
I still get a check though this week, so it ain't like that.
Yeah, I still got a check and we still won. So
yeah,
can I really complain too much?
No, you can't really complain too much. But as a fan, I can complain.
Yeah,
Um,
nah, I agree with your report card. It wasn't my best performance, and like just looking at the game, like honestly too, like I felt like how I felt out there, like the Chiefs offense, they did a good job staying ahead of the sticks,
well,
which
they
kept
gamed
us.
y'all pretty well though, with not
Mhm.
too many deep passes, a lot of quick runs, quick tosses, plays that feel like passes, but they're really kind of runs,
Yeah,
short passes.
it was a lot of RPO, a lot of quick game, a lot of boots, pin boots, rollout boots. They hit a lot of short routes, which and they had some successful runs as well too, which kept them ahead of the sticks. And when a team is able to do that, especially a great offense like they have, you as a defense can't ever like get a beat on them. Like they're just in third and manageable. Hence to the show, like we never could get in third and long where we want to be. We have very few third downs, and that's not the type of game that is like conducive playing on your
Right.
terms, especially for a defensive line. So
Especially in the one play on the goal line in the 2 minute drill when they scored on the safety didn't. I don't know if he's supposed to be box contained or was he supposed to be Spiller, but he didn't cause that type of catastrophe at the point where the pullers come in to make the running back stop his feet. Is like he kind of just opened up the hole a little bit more. And I think on that play, you can't call it, but I can. I feel like you need to have more contact so the linebackers could get over and be able to make that play on the running back on Kareem
yeah,
Hunt. Which Kareem Hunt is kind of an interesting kind of player too, because
Kareem Hunt.
it's like, yeah, he's like he's still in the league, but it's like wow, like
Kareem Hunt, nice and crazy story, crazy on the field. He kind of like had a nice little like hurdle or like jump, and he was like, after he did it, he was on the ground. He said, "I still got it. I still got it."
oh no, he's a player like he'd be like on a couch or something playing Xbox, and then they're like we need a guy. It's like oh yeah, Kareem Hunt's probably somewhere, and he's like always in shape. He's just a football player.
Yeah, nah, me and him train at the same place sometimes in the off season. So me and him are cool. Yeah, like he's had he's kind of revitalized his career, which is good for him. Good to see, and also too like there's those organizations that like have those guys that they can always bring back and like fill a role. The Chiefs have always done that very well. They always bring like McCole Hardman back or Kareem Hunt or someone just to fill a role that they need and kind of plug and play. So yeah, he definitely had a good game and still showed that he had some success for us and showed that he still got it.
Yeah. Speaking of success and not successful, looking at the Bengals, they look horrendous going into this. Like in my opinion, like Zach Taylor, like he was on the staff when I was at Texas A&M, and like I feel like his job has to be up for is there a coach on the hot seat, right? Because I feel like basically at this point he's giving you what Marvin Lewis is giving you, usually, above average in the win columns, 9-8, like those type of numbers where he lost a lot of games, but there was games where the players played really great. But then he has this kind of out because it's like, well, Joe Burrow didn't play, but it's like, well, he doesn't have his quarterback. But at some point, the Bengals got to be that team that transition. And then all of a sudden, they make the trade for Joe Flacco. It's like, out of all the quarterbacks in the NFL that could be around right now, I don't understand who Joe Flacco's agent is and what kind of blackmailing that he knows on every single GM to keep him in positions where people are making trade for a 41-year-old quarterback. Like, I don't understand how this could be a better situation. Like, Joe Flacco had 6 interceptions. How is Joe Flacco still doing this? And he gets benched on his own team, and now the Bengals are doing what the Bengals do, making a trade for somebody who really isn't going to move the needle at all. It's like there's a lot of quarterbacks out there that are more capable of giving this team opportunity to win. And I think Zach Taylor making a trade like this, to me, doesn't really push the team and in the realm of where it should be when there's like Jameis Winston out there. I would even say Russell Wilson would be a better situation than Joe Flacco, somebody who is mobile and still has the opportunity to have an arm. I mean, you give Russell Wilson, Jamar Chase, and the rest of that offensive line and those receivers, I think he does a pretty good job of giving them an opportunity to jump over the hurdle. But in no way or fashion am I going to trade my car in what your car is. Let's just say your current car situation, right? Apparently you were driving a double R. You would not trade a double R for a Kia Sportage. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't say, yeah, look, I have this car and I want something that's less value than what my perceived value for what I already have. And I feel like trading for Joe Flacco, it just doesn't give you that opportunity. If I was the Bengals, I would trade for Shedeur, somebody else that would at least bring a fan base in. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I think you spoke to Jake Browning being a weapon, and I just don't see that being. I mean, outside of Geno Smith and Joe Flacco, these are the guys who's giving the ball the most away. So now Joe Flacco and Jake Browning together give you 11 interceptions on the season. That's probably more touchdowns than they have combined.
That's facts. I don't know what they got going on over there. I know it's been a sticky situation, ever since Burrow went down. And I don't know, like I said, I can't really say nothing because I lost to Jake Browning and Joe Flacco went crazy on us last time we played. But it's just crazy. I think the most interesting thing about it is the inter-division trade and what that signifies, like, between the Browns and the Bengals. It's like, do they feel like they're both out of the race? Like, are they not, competing for the playoffs, or, are they kind of waving the white flag? I don't know what that signifies, because typically teams within a division wouldn't make a trade like to help another team. Like, I don't get that piece.
No, they're not helping them. They like offloading, like, look, hey, I got this house. It's got an ocean by it, but it's in Missouri. You're like, well, okay, yeah, it's got an ocean view. That's basically what's happening right there.
But even think about this, like, Flacco knows everything about the Browns. Aren't they going to play against each other? Well, they already played once. They got one more game, I think, against each other later in the season. But, yeah, the interdivision trade is kind of weird to me, especially in the middle of the season.
Joe Burrow going down, have an opportunity to get Russell Wilson but I feel like Russell Wilson, he just has an aura around him that he's not a good teammate, but I would argue differently, but maybe that's what it is. But Jameis Winston has the aura of being a great teammate. I feel like Stefon Diggs is having a great year. He arguably has the most successful rap or just artist in general outside of Taylor Swift as his baby mama. He's been traded to a pretty good team. He got a chance to play against his team last week.
Came back off that ACL quick too.
Oh, he came off the ACL. Whoever his trainer is amazing.
Yeah, Dr. Reef. That's who did my rehab too. Shout out to Dr. Reef down there in Miami. He got that boy Diggs right in 5 months. I saw that boy 4 months post ACL. He was already running, cutting, and signed a big deal off of ACL at receiver.
Stefon Diggs is a monster, though. He worked hard, though. You look at how he works out, how he takes his training, how he does all that stuff. Like, he's really serious about the game, and I think it kind of, the first couple games with a new team kind of filling it out and then being able to come back-to-back 100 yards receptions, come out last week, and pretty much him and Drake May, they pretty much were the ones who pretty much won that game. I mean, he made critical plays at critical moments. And I think coming off the ACL, I mean, it's kind of crazy if you think about science in a way that the ACL used to be the end of your career, and then now we have a guy less than a year off of having the ACL coming out, having tremendous games. You can see that he's still slowly getting back and trusting his leg, but there was a couple of times where he did step-back moves, made guys fall, and still made tough plays. So I think Stefon Diggs is going to have a monster season when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and the cool thing about this, it was personal for him, obviously, returning back to Buffalo, where it was a little bit tumultuous of how he left, and for me, in returning back to my previous team last week, and knowing that feeling of emotions and all that, for him to come out.
Mad about your answer last week though, because I was like, come on, Eric, like you weren't mad just a tad bit, like you didn't have a little heinous in your heart. Like I was like, but I guess you're a nice guy, you're man of the year, but I know deep down inside you definitely wanted to,
I wanted to do all those things. All I was saying was that there was a lot of good stuff too, and like what I wanted to prove was the player that I am, and show what you missed out on. But I didn't have like a vendetta or a very vengeful type of feeling. I feel like I don't know. That's just not me really. But
Stefon Diggs did. He
did. It seemed as such.
He played hard, tough, did the things that you have to do. And, I mean, when you think about you going on to another receiver, we talking about being a receiver, coming to the NFL, and we can't even talk about fashion, a player who's kind of done everything off the field without mentioning OBJ. I mean, at this point, I think his career is kind of – I think the worst thing that OBJ did was leave the Giants. I think that was a situation that he kind of – I don't know if he forced his way out of it or he didn't want to be in it together. I think through whatever happened – I mean, the boat trip was probably the worst thing that happened. I don't know why they went on the boat and, they did that. I don't know why, and I think that was probably the turning point in his career. I think he still had great years with the Browns, still had some good years, but it was like he went from being, the star receiver of the NFL. He pretty much was a trendsetter when it comes to like social media, to me, I would say that OBJ was the first real star in the NFL in a while, like, that really was a global star. Like OBJ was friends with soccer players. He was all over Europe. Like he truly was like the face of the youth of the NFL and was like a global sensation when you talk about receivers and players. I would say that I would give OBJ that credit of saying that. I don't know, fashion shows, being at the Met Gala, like he was the guy.
I think that's the interesting thing about stardom and being in the NFL is that you are such a huge star, and when it's time for a new role, like the attention that comes with it sometimes can be tough. Where like if you're not as big of a star, it's easier to take a lighter role because the media isn't expecting you to be your former self. Like the star, the man, the attention's not coming with it. So it's easier for you to transition into other roles, kind of diminish, as you ascend in your career, your roles change, different things change. And so when you have the stardom that he does, he signs to a team, and that's OBJ. And it's like everyone is expecting, old OBJ, but he's been through a lot. He's had injuries. He's still a great player, but it might not be to the level of that people wanted to be and remember him as that big star. And so I think there's an element of that as well, too, that comes with it.
Well, I would say that one thing about both Stefon Diggs and OBJ that's clear is that they both love the game of football. I think that's kind of something you can't deny. You've seen the passion in OBJ's eyes. Like, he loves the game of football. I think you can have all the success and lose that love, but you can clearly see that Stefon Diggs, both the passion that they play with in the game, the way that they go for how they play it. It's like they have a lot going on off the field, but still they love the game. They find time to be aware of their positions and still push through. So, I don't know, speaking of positions and starting and doing those things, kind of thinking about Dillon Gabriel, like this is your quarterback from, not your particular quarterback, but played at your university. This week's game, 19 for 33, which is not that bad. 190 yards, 38.9 quarterback rating. I don't know where 38.9 is a good grade in some places. I don't know. Like, if your teacher ever gives you a report card back and says you have a 38.9, you might be like, damn, I'm not passing. So I don't know if that's a passing.
Yeah, I don't know how they do the QBR, but I think 100 is 100 and I don't know. I think the max is like 130 or something. I don't know how they do the QBR, but yeah, I don't think 38 is that pleasant.
And so, do you feel like for a rookie quarterback, like is that a good stat line? You know, I think Dillon Gabriel too. To me, is another quintessential quarterback that does the right thing. You know, like he is not the quarterback that, you know, when you look at a Josh Allen coming in, you look at the physique, you look at the ability and what he could do, or Lamar Jackson coming out. Like Dillon Gabriel to me is still in that realm of like a Kirk Cousins. Like Kirk Cousins isn't like the most athletic guy, but he can make the throws and make the right decisions. But then it's kind of what Kirk Cousins always comes down to, like in the most critical moments where athleticism.
So you feel like they're more so like low ceiling,
I would say
high floor type guys.
I just say that they make good plays, and when the situation is there, right? It's like, you know, they're not the guys that you're like, oh my God, that was an incredible opportunity. Like last week against, you know, you guys against the Chiefs. Like there was 2 plays on both sides that quarterbacks did outstanding things. There was a moment where I thought you guys had Patrick Mahomes sacked, but he just tossed you guys around like a little rad dog on that moment. But not to say that, but he just pushed you off, not you particularly, but the defense, and was able to make a good throw. Trevor Lawrence did the same thing. I'm not sure that I see Gabriel Dillon doing that. I think if you look at the Oregon Ducks stacked team, he was able to make good plays on a very good organization and a good team. I just think he's a good quarterback and not a bad quarterback.
Yeah, I think for his first performance, to have him in the game with opportunity to win late, you know, solid performance for him to build upon. And, you know, that game was on. I was watching that game towards the end and seeing how the game finished up. And, you know, having him in a position to win, you know, I think it was a solid performance. Maybe not the best statistically, but, you know, that's all you can really ask for, I guess, in your first game. You know, put your team late in the game with a position to try to win. So solid performance. It'll be interesting to see how they play that quarterback position now that Flacco's not in the fold. You know, how long they go with Gabriel. Does Shedeur get a shot? So it'll be interesting to see.
And then OBJ said he gets suspended, right? And he said he doesn't knowingly know that he took PEDs. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of like one of those things where you tweet something and you say like, my Twitter got hacked or something like that. It's like I don't know who put that word. It's like, but the person who hacked it to your Twitter was very instrumental in stating a position that seems like you would state. And I think like, you know, Bill Clinton said, look, I smoked, but I didn't inhale. It's like, at some point, it's like, is it better just to say you did take PEDs, or is it like, you know, or you fight to the end and say that you didn't know that you were taking them, and it's like, but how'd you get PEDs? Like, that's a very specific thing. Like, you literally have to buy something that has performance enhancing in it, or it's like, is somebody giving you supplements? Who are you getting the drugs from? Like, as an athlete, how do you not know what you're putting into your body? You know, it's like that. To me, I find that very fascinating. I don't know if I even believe that or not.
I don't know. It's definitely not looking good for, you know, him. He also said that he's not retired and still wants to play. So, not being on a roster, and then if he does sign, going to have to service.
You can get retired on your own. Like, the NFL just retires you without your. Like, most people get to walk away and say, "Yo, I'm done. I had a good time, and I don't want to play no more." Like, the NFL is like, you go on a date and they're like, "Yeah, I'm never calling you back," type thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like they just leave you on red, you know, and don't respond to you. So it's like, I don't even know if you can say that you didn't know that you were taking PEDs in this generation. I mean, we old school players, like, we just ate collard greens and grits, you know, and like that was kind of our type of, get out there and just play. But I think guys want to be able to recover and come back these days. So I don't know. I feel like
you may have been an old school player, not them early generations. Them boys was roided up.
They definitely was taking roids in the 90s.
Them boys was on roids and crack cocaine.
But I do think players have to be more. I don't think there's an excuse anymore to saying that you don't know what you took inside of your body. Like as a player, like with all the information out there, all the things that are going on, you should be able to know what's going in your body. And it's ultimately your responsibility as a player to know exactly what you put into your body, doing the research. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if the trainer gave it to you, if your mama gave it to you, if your cousin gave it to you, if your daughter said, hey, daddy, eat this. Like at the end of the day, you're going to be the person that everybody's going to be looking at and questioning and saying, did you take it? And you're going to have to say, well, I didn't know if I took it or not. And everybody's going to look at you and be like, bro, you making $15, $25 million a year, and you didn't know if that was illegal for you to take. So I don't know. There's no excuse in this generation.
Yes, it's definitely on everyone as an athlete to, make sure that you're doing the right things because it's our livelihood, it's our job for sure.
This week, like speaking of culture and things that's happening in the NFL, like Coach Jonathan Gannon, Arizona Cardinals, he gets in Emari's face because at the end of the day, that touchdown that he ran and fumbling, there's no excuse for him not to know where he was on the end zone and also finishing the plays. And as a coach, like sometimes that gets to you because you are harping on those little things. Those are the things that Arik, every week we go through those type of things at practice, what not to do. Do you guys still watch the plays, the dumb plays of the week? Like things that guys did, made mistakes, and you say, oh, yeah, like, you guys better not do this. And you always say, I'm not going to be that guy. I won't be the guy who's going to do that. I won't rough the passer in the last moment. But it's like when you're in a game, like things change, like you feel a certain way. But like I don't think there's ever an excuse for a coach to put his hands on a coach, on a player, or a player to put his hands on a coach. I mean, everybody's been close to putting their hands on a coach. I mean, me included. But
definitely no one should be putting their hands on nobody. And things do get heated out there. Obviously, it's a competitive sport. Obviously, the kid, Emari, made a poor decision. It is a play that, we see often. Have been seeing it for years. I feel like every team does a cut up of like, don't be this guy. And so when you're that guy, it is tough. And they end up losing the game, which that factored into for sure. So, but no one should be putting their hands on anyone. And, obviously throughout the course of history, players and coaches have gotten into it and things get heated. And but at the end of the day, that's not good for our sport. Especially I see it a lot in youth football. And the NFL is the standard for football, which everyone looks up to. And what message is that showing our youth, our younger players that like a coach can put their hands on a player. In any type of fashion, it's just it shouldn't happen.
But Arik, do you think that also says like this coach is really into the game? Like there's something about him. He's super passionate about wanting to win. Like I feel like he
ain't in the game. He ain't in the game more than anybody else.
Well,
we all into the game. That don't mean you get to put your hands on someone.
It's really at stake right now, right? Because Kyler Murray at this point is considered, this is a make or break opportunity for him, both Kyler Murray and him at this moment. It's like Kyler Murray has all the talent, has the arm strength, has the ability to make the best throws, but hasn't been able to put together a winning season. The Cardinals have invested in receivers from Hopkins to Marvin Harrison Jr. to Hollywood Brown. Like they've tried to give him everybody to make sure that this team is successful. And Jonathan Gannon is right on the cusp of being like, bro, if I don't win this year, like my life changes. I'm not a head coach anymore because they haven't had good seasons over the last couple of years, and there's no excuse for the Arizona Cardinals. But that they are in a tough conference. They're in one of the toughest conferences in the NFL. You talk about the Rams, the Seahawks, and these guys in the 49ers. Like, these are three of the teams that
he ain't the only one. Everyone's in a tough situation, high pressure. He ain't the only coach on the hot seat. I don't even think he's really on the hot seat. They had a pretty good year.
On the hot seat. Like, he's more mediocre than
really, I don't think they're really on the hot seat. I think this season, last season they were like 8-9. You know, couple games go a different way. They're in the playoffs. I think this season is a little bit of a letdown because people were expecting them to take another step and push towards playoffs, winning the division. So I think it's definitely disappointing.
Nah, he's definitely – I see. At this point, Jonathan Gannon is like eating a hamburger at the airport. Like, it looks really good, and then you bite into it and you look that it's not well done. There wasn't a chef that cooked it. There's a lot of missing parts to this hamburger. It's bland. It doesn't fulfill you. There's no cuisine to it. This is kind of where they are right now. Like, you look at the Arizona Cardinals, they look like they got everything you need to make the right meal. But when you taste that meal, it's lacking everything. And I think when you look at the Arizona Cardinals over the last couple of years, that's exactly what's happened. They have all the great players to do it, but there's something missing. And at this point, you have to point back to the coach and say, is it the culture? How could the Jaguars be able to turn over their team, turn over the lead, have last year not be a super competitive team?
Well, I know my coach ain't putting his hands on me.
Yeah,
that could be part of the culture.
Yeah, that's true. So, well,
obviously in the world of professional sports, we're all fans of different teams and other sports, and we're following other sports. Dame Lillard came out and tweeted about the Oakland Raiders, which Dame is obviously from Oakland, loves the Raiders, but he tweeted that it's time to trade for Shedeur Sanders, signifying that, he's done with Geno Smith and what the Raiders are putting out there on the field. So, Mike, how do you feel about other professional athletes commenting and discussing other professional athletes in this magnitude or this light?
I think it's okay because everybody is a critic, right? I think, America's so much about freedom of speech. It's like we criticize the president, we criticize the Uber driver who doesn't make the right turn, or the DoorDash person who brings the wrong thing to you. Like, man, I just wanted ketchup, you know what I mean? And they mess it up. So I feel like, but it's hard because it's also like, I feel like Dame Lillard also has been one of the most sensitive players in the NBA, like he's always kind of reacting to what somebody says, and like, he's had a couple critical seasons. Like, people have kind of been on him a lot, with being able to be traded to the Milwaukee Bucks and not performing at the best that he could, especially when he got teamed up with Giannis. We thought that was that combination. And I think, indirectly it can harm somebody's career. Like, but I don't know in this situation if Pete Carroll is like, oh, I want to know what Damian Lillard is saying, and I want to I want to trade him because Damian Lillard says that he knows exactly what the Raiders need. I think it's just a statement. I don't think it affects Geno very much. I think Geno might take take a shot at it and be like, damn, that's kind of messed up. Damian Lillard taking shots at me. But I think Geno's a competitor, and Geno knows that this isn't his own standard. If you look at the last couple of years with the Seahawks, he's been up there in the statistics and passing, completions, yards. So I think he already knows that he needs to play better. But I think it is kind of heartbreaking as a player sometimes to see that your people that you respect could be talking bad about you. But at the end of the day, if you were doing good, they'd be talking good about you. But apparently you're doing bad, so everybody's going to be taking bad at you. I saw AI commercials where they even make an AI talk bad about Geno Smith. I saw one commercial, one little thing on Instagram where it says Geno Smith got in a wreck. And I'm like, damn, Geno got in a wreck? But it was like this guy hitting the trash can. I'm like, yo, fans are crazy. Like why would somebody, like, I'm like genuinely concerned, like Geno got in a wreck. Like, I didn't even hear about it. and like it's this person driving super fast, running over one of those green recycle bins, and the trash goes everywhere.
Yeah,
So
the Geno slander got to stop though. I mean, obviously he's not playing well. He said it himself that he's not playing to that level. And I think all of us as athletes, like, it's not like, we're not trying to perform, but, we've struggled at different times throughout our career. But one thing I will say about Geno is, history repeats itself often. He's got written off before. So he knows how to play with that chip. He knows what it's like to kind of dig out of a hole and have to, reinvent yourself and change that narrative about you. And I've had to do that. You've had to do that. Dame Lillard has had to do that. All of us have to do that at some point. And so I'm not going to write him off, because if someone could show me another career arc like Geno Smith, someone that was a top pick, then went to the bottom of the league, everyone had written off him as a no good player, to come back, to have the success that he's had, get the contracts that he's had,
offensive player of the year.
Yeah.
Comeback player of the year.
Comeback player of the year. The success that he's had, and we're talking about, at the end of the day, we're talking about 5, granted it's NFL football and everything matters, but we're talking about 5 weeks of his career. So if anyone can come back from it, I think he can. And
he also has one of the greatest coaches. I think Pete Carroll is a proven coach, and it's all about turning around the culture. And I'm pretty sure Pete's going to be able to turn around that culture pretty soon, once they start to kind of like settle down and figure out what the nucleus of the team is and how Pete wants to play. Pete is a proven winner, so at the end of the day, Pete's going to make sure that the product that's being put out on the field is going to represent him eventually.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, like I said, people struggle at different times throughout their careers, man. Like,
but he's just playing awful.
Yeah, like,
Geno's my guy.
Yeah, Geno's my guy too. Like, I think if anyone can get it turned around, I think he can. Obviously, it's not good. If you're a Raider fan, it's not good for him. It's not good for their team. And like I said, he'd be the first. He already admitted that he's not playing to that level, and so that it is what it is. But to see other, professional athletes, you would think, like, as a professional athlete, sometimes it's like, I kind of would know how that would feel if I was in their shoes. Like, let me not kind of get there.
But what I respect about fans though versus players though? At least a fan will call it out. But like players and rap artists, sometimes they all like indirectly take shots. It's like say names. Like, say names. Like, if you want Geno to be traded, say I want Geno to be traded. Like, people don't want to say names. So I think if you're gonna take a shot at somebody, say the name and stand on business. If not, don't do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't like a player, you don't like the way he playing, like, say their name. I would say at least fans do that. The players, they kind of always kind of like hint at it, but never say like, yo, I'm better than old dude. Like, just say his name.
Yeah. If you're going to say it, definitely stand on it. I think it's a little bit of a different situation, though, between a fan and a player, because fans aren't putting themselves out there as well, too, and don't have much to lose. So them just saying something is them just saying something. Like, when you're a professional as well, too, and you got more games to play, Dame got a season coming up once he gets healthy. So, everything he said about someone else, people are going to be looking at you like, well, karma and all that. So I feel like that's why athletes kind of, steer away from, especially while they're currently playing, steer away from discussing other athletes, like that.
But what'll make you cry? What'll make you laugh or make you cry?
But at the end of the day, Dame is a really hardcore fan of the Raiders, and he probably was just like any other fan, got on Twitter like, bro, this got to change.
This Dame time, you got to say names, though. You got to say names.
Facts.
Stand on it. every week I'm going back to the truck drivers of the week, the drivers of the week, the top 5 defensive lines in the NFL, the top defense line performance of the week, the team stacks, the debate on who is dominating the trenches, who's the most underrated team. Last week, the defensive line looked a lot differently. You know, I had the Browns being number 1. I also had the Seahawks and the Jags being in that conversation with the Giants. But last week, all 3 of those teams underperformed. And I know Eric might be mad at that, but at the end of the day, the Jags kind of underperformed as of a defensive line. And I feel like in the crucial moments of the game for the Seahawks, the defensive line didn't step up and make those big plays that they needed to make. And the Giants, although they have the most talented defensive line in the NFL, they've kind of underperformed over the last couple of weeks. There's moments where they feel like one of the best defensive lines, and then there's moments where they miss the most simplest things in the league. And so doing that, I had the Broncos outside of the top 5 just because they had the most sacks in the NFL, but they weren't winning. But last week they had one of those wins that you can't deny that the Broncos are the best defensive line in the league right now when it comes to 6th in the NFL in opponents' yards and 1st in the NFL in sacks, 21, with Nick having 7. I go back to the Lions being, again, one of the most dominant defenses in the NFL, one of the best NFL teams in general, and then also having one of the most dominant defensive lines, the 2nd in the league with sacks with 16, and also being able to stop the run, being able to stop the pass and make critical moments and not allowing opposing teams to have their way on the field. And then number 3, I still keep the Browns in there, right? They're still 2nd in the NFL in opposing yards with 378, the 6th in the NFL with sacks and with 14. They're still dominating on both sides with quarterback pressures from both the outside rushers and also the interior rushers, with Malik Collins leading the inside rushing, and then having, of course, the best defensive lineman in the NFL, Myles Garrett, outside creating havoc on every single play when he's in the game, in the run game and in the pass game. Then you have the Commanders, which you kind of look at them as like, oh, but they still, Payne, Von Miller, Dorrance, all those guys being able to make plays and make critical plays for the Commanders. Like, that defensive line in general continues to stand out, being, number 3 in the NFL with 15 sacks. Von Miller still playing at a high level. I feel like DQ always does a great job of being able to get his defensive lines to play at a high level regardless of where he's been, whether it was the Cowboys when he turned around the Cowboys defense, when he turned around the Seahawks defense, and then the Falcons. They were one of the most competitive defensive lines whenever he was there. So he has this thing. He was my D-line coach, so I know the way that he thinks, rushers, stopping and run. I think the Commanders have done a great job of being able to get TFLs, quarterback pressures, quarterback hits, changing the way the quarterback is kind of playing the game. And number 5, I still give it. Now I have the Steelers jumping up and creeping up. I think the Chiefs last week, Chris Jones and the rest of those guys, they weren't able to make the most critical plays to stop in a situation where it came down to pass rush. I would say Chris Jones, because I think Chris Jones in general played a pretty good game on the edge, creating pressure, but still just not being able to get the quarterback down. But they had the quarterback off the spot, and a lot of times as a defensive line, the defensive line coach and the defensive coordinator say, hey, let's get the quarterback off his spot. Every quarterback has a spot and a rhythm that they want to be in, and whether it's a 3-yard step, whether it's a 7-yard drop, whether it's to get the ball in quick timing, playing against Drew Brees or Peyton Manning, it was all about timing. How do we get them off their timing and off their rhythm? And so I think when you think about the Steelers and them being able to be 5th in the league in sacks, but also being able to get quarterbacks off the spot. And so I think these are my top defensive lines. And, the Broncos, number 1, the Lions, the Browns, the Commanders, and the Steelers. You can't deny that the Broncos are playing at a high level in the NFL right now. I still think that there's an opportunity for the Jaguars. They're still out on the outside of it because they are playing great football, but they just aren't getting those numbers that you want to see. But they're doing a good job stopping the run, but they're not in the top 5 right now. These are my top 5 defensive lines the Broncos, the Lions, the Browns, the Commanders, and then the Steelers. Why? Because they're doing a good job stopping the run, TFLs, quarterback pressures, hurries, hits, and getting the quarterbacks off the spot. And every single game, these defensive lines in critical moments like being in the red zone, which every coordinator says, every quarterback is a runner in the red zone. Why? Because they have an opportunity. You got to be able to crush the pocket, keep the quarterback contained, not being able to let him scramble and make critical plays in critical moments. And these defensive lines are doing that every single week. And I continue to be amazed by the way that the Broncos are rushing. Shout out to Coach Jordan. Coach Jordan is an outstanding pass rush coach. You know, he's one of those coaches that players work with in the offseason. He's one of the best pass rush coaches I've met, and seeing kind of coordinate and do things and get rushers to, you know, play.
Appreciate you tuning in for another episode of Third and Long.
This was a great week talking about the Jags, the rest of the NFL, how Arik is actually doing, C-, I thought, and what's going around the league and how the league is changing, the players, the coaches, being very honest, vulnerable about our own experiences.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. This is what we're offering to you guys. Hit us up in the comments, anything you guys want us to add to the show, segments, or anything you guys want us to discuss.
And thanks again for tuning in. Hey, continue to tune in.